Good morning. This is Pam with Follow Your Brush and Down the Ink Hole. I'm here this morning to introduce you to some of my new purchases that I received last night from Tom's Studio. If you've never joined me before, I do watercolor, and during this last year I have incorporated fountain pens and inks with great relish. I'm enjoying it. But today I wanted to introduce you to some unique pens from Tom's Studio that I want to give some time to talk about and show you by actually following instructions. Often, if you're like me, we just kind of try to get into things and not necessarily follow the instructions. And I've watched a couple videos where people were trying to explain these pens and did not follow the instructions, so they ended up being confusing. So I want to try to give it a shot and explain it well to you so you don't end up confused. It's a great product, and I didn't do the unboxing online because if you want to open a box, you can do that. And I'm sure somebody else can show you opening a box. But they do have great packaging, and they always send this little popcorn tea, which I have not tried yet, but and then I've got my new pens here. And this time I ordered the little jars to hold the refillable reservoir. I have one here that I filled the other day, and I had not yet received this order. But the ink, you'll see in a second, does go up these reservoirs, and you can't touch them. You're not going to get ink on your fingers by touching the outside of these little reservoirs, and the ink just fills in there. And the nice thing about them is that you can rinse them out and reuse them once they dry out. But I did order some extra little storage containers this time. It also comes with the Lumos that I'm going to show you here in a second. Does come with a full set of tips because they are interchangeable, and you can also clean these out with clear water and replace them for another tip, but you can reuse them if it's not disposable. And on the back of this box, this is for the Lumos Duo, which I'll show you in a second. It gives you a nice example of the tips on how the different line widths, the writing tips, and even felt tips that have a brush, chisel, and a bullet tip. And you can refill with any fountain pen ink, but they do not recommend shimmer or glitter because that would clog it. But these are really cool, and they're unique in that feature that you can reuse, refill, and rinse out and use again. Here's my instructions. The other one that I got is called the Wren. I had purchased one before Christmas and really enjoy this pen. This is the raspberry color, and I have it filled with raspberry sorbet ink. If you saw my ink sample swatching a minute ago, you will. Let me show you. Let me grab that. This is a previous video I made this morning. This is the raspberry sorbet. I also got some ink samples. If you didn't watch, you can watch that video I just did earlier. I got mulberry, juniper, cassius, raspberry sorbet, and New Forest Green were samples that I ordered to go with my pens this time. It does come, I ordered directly from the UK, from Tom's Studio, although I do believe, and I know for a fact that you can order these from Atlas Stationers. But even from the UK, they did get here rather quickly. I'm going to keep these instructions out so I can show you how to do this properly. And I have an ink sample here ready to go for my new Lumos Duo. I have a Lumos that I ordered before that is just the Lumos Mini. This is one that I ordered around Christmas time. And I have this filled with I believe it's called Loch Ness. I'll try writing here somewhere. And it's a nice tip. Loch Ness is also one of their samples. It's a nice writing tip. This is an interchangeable tip. We'll talk about these in a second. I did go ahead and order what they call the Lumos Duo, because I found this one is a bit short for me. And so we're going to talk about that and show you how to fill these. And then I also got myself a new Wren, just simply because I like the raspberry sorbet one. I like the raspberry one, so I wanted to order another one, another color. You can mix and match your colors when you go online to their website. It's just tomstudio.com. I've already gotten into this, so you can see that. It comes with a little ink sample. And the reason these bottles are so tiny is you'll see when I put the reservoir in, it doesn't take much, and the reservoirs just fill up. And it also has a nice little instructions, but in filling this one, I accidentally spilled my ink. So there you go. That did not come like that. That was something that I did. But what you do is you unscrew the top section. This one, obviously, I have filled earlier when I spilled my ink. Do this carefully. And there I did. I squeezed it. That was my problem. That was not the pen. You put it in the reservoir, which I'll show you in a minute, and it goes up to the tip. The only reason that I got ink on myself is because I squeezed that little reservoir. So, but you fill it up, and then we'll do that in a second. And that's it. That's all you have to do, besides make a mess. The mess is optional. That's user error. That's why I have this rag here and water. But I'm going to continue on. We're not going to talk about that right now. But anyway, this one I already did fill earlier with the forest green. With the new forest green sample that I just got. That's this one, the new forest green. And I filled that with the new Wren with that ink. I thought that was pretty. But let's go on to the Lumos and show you how that works. I have watched a couple videos, or several videos actually, online, and found that it's a nice thank you note that comes with as well. Found that some people have tried to fill these in kind of like thinking in terms of fountain pens, and it's not quite the same. So that's why I wanted to do this and actually follow the instructions. I've seen a couple videos where they just tried to do it without following the instructions, and I don't advise that. But here you go. I put a tip in this one already, but we'll do the other one as well. It does come with this little silicone tip grip. So be careful when you're opening your boxes that you don't lose this, because you will need this. It slides on here, and it just helps you to let me take this apart. This is the Duo. This is a Duo that I got. So this one has on this end. Okay, it's like two minis. See? But this goes, these go together. This one does not have a tip in it yet. We'll do that together. But I have not filled this one yet. But anyway, back to this. Here is the silicone nib, step number 1. Silicone tip grip. And you can put this on here, and then it just gives you some little bit of grip so you can pull this out. Here is your reusable reservoir. It comes like this. I'm not sure what the fabric or material is inside, but you can put your nib in there. Just kind of push it down to make sure it's secure. And we'll put a nib in the other one. This one I already did put a nib in. But what you can do you can even do it without unscrewing it, but I'm going to show you how this works. You put your nib in there. Here's your selections of nibs. You can change them out. And I have these little tweezers that I use just because of my arthritis and so forth. It just helps me to grab this with the tweezers to pull out a nib. These are also, you can rinse under the water and reuse them. So this one is not filled yet. And I ordered the rose blush color. I thought that was pretty. So I'm going to fill this with, oh, I need to put this back on there. I'm sorry. See, there we go. I'm getting ahead of myself. Put this back on here. Okay, and then just gently take this off. Okay, so there's your nib. Has been placed into the reservoir. Now let's fill it up. On this particular end, I put the 0.3 tip. This is the mulberry ink from my little ink sample. I thought that would be pretty. I'm gonna put this down over here on a rag. And let's go. Let's watch this fill. This is the coolest thing ever, I think. So you just stick it in here and you see the capillary action begins to pull the ink up into the reservoir. It says when it gets to the top, count to 5 slowly. And you will gradually see it coming into the tip. You see that? So then you can remove it. And don't squeeze it like I did the other one. Put it back into your pen. Screw it back in. If you're just going to use it like the Mini, you can put the cap on the back. And then you're good to write. Let me put the lid back on this, however, because I made a lot of spills this morning and doing this improperly. So here we go. Let's try this. This is the 0.3 tip, and the color is mulberry. You can see it writes so smoothly, beautifully. This is just on the paper that came with the instructions. This is the mulberry ink, and this is the 0.3 tip. These are made to replace, or instead of, if you were using like a fine liner pen, like a Micron or some of your other fine liners that you might purchase, and then when they're dry, you have to throw them away. These you can recycle, so to speak, in that you can rinse them out, let them dry, or you can put if you want to change colors, you can have extra reservoirs. Keep the filled reservoir in one of your containers and swap it out. So let's do this one from the very beginning. This one I want to put a permanent ink in. Now I do caution you, these are for fountain pen inks, not India ink. That will ruin your pen. I just saw a post this morning, someone that had tried India ink in one of their fountain pens and were so disappointed. And for this one, I'm going to take out, I think for a fine liner, I like 0.5. And so I'm going to lay this down here, use my little grip, follow the instructions. You don't need to put it all the way down, just enough to get some friction to turn it. Here is my cartridge or reservoir already in there. I'll take the rest of this off. And then with my tweezers, just because my hands are not steady and I have arthritis, I put this in here, and it does fit right down in there nicely. Let's give it a little push. Put your tip back on. Let me get the threading correct. That's a user problem too. User error. There, I got my threading on there correctly. It's going right on. Take off the tip. This one I'm going to carefully fill with some permanent black ink because I want to use this in drawings and sketching, and I don't want it to be water soluble. But this is fountain pen ink. We'll watch this soak up really quickly. When it gets to the top, you just count to 5 slowly, or just watch until you see it begin to come into the tip. But the capillary action, there it comes. You can pull it out. Put it back into your pen. Screw it down. I'm going to put the lid on this ink because that's dangerous in my house. And this one now we have, and you can attach them. Let me show you this. So this is one of the features of this Lumos Duo. You can, and I'm getting ink on it. That's just my fingers. You can put the cap back on this side. See, this makes it longer. And I did get that ink on me. But let's write with this. This is a 0.5. And this is going to be archival permanent ink. Fountain pen ink, not India ink. So this is, the ink is from Noodler's Black. And this is a 0.5 tip, which will be nice for sketching. See how nicely this sits in your hand. But what the fun thing is, they have brush tips and other tips. You can take the other end off, and then you can write with that as well. And you can refill and reuse. Clean out these tips and reuse them. But now I have 2 tips that I can choose from. And I can get this ink off this pen. But I wanted this one so that I have the permanent ink for sketching in my sketchbooks, and then I can incorporate it with watercolor. So I'm going to take this apart. I am going to clean myself up here in a second. Okay. There we go. And this is the Mini that I purchased previously. It's just a little bit small for me to use on its own, but it also writes nicely. That's the Mini. And I believe that I have Loch Ness ink in that one. And I did order extra tips. I keep them in my little Galen leather bag that they send when I get orders. Some of the other things that I have purchased from them. So I have 2 sets now of the full tip set. It came with the Lumos pen, came with the Lumos Mini, and came with the Lumos Duo. So I have 2 options, plenty of options for that. These are replacement tips for my for the Wren. If I want to change those out, I have that in the raspberry and in the sage. I also purchased extra little reservoirs that I can have extra colors in if I want to swap them out. It's easy to do. So I have those. And then like I showed you before, I have these little containers where you can put your little reservoirs in if you've already inked them, but you want to keep the color in there and have it available. So I did order extra tips. And the Lumos comes with the full set of tips, so you have the full set there available to you to swap out. You see the brush tips and chisel and bullet for calligraphy and so forth. So it's a really nice pen, and I am excited to add this to my vast collection of fountain pens, but it's a little different than a fountain pen, so that's why I want to do a separate video on it. There's my Lumos Mini, the Lumos Duo. You can also get the Lumos Pro, which does not have the other tip. It's just the single tip, but it works in the same fashion, but it is longer than the Mini. And then I have two Wrens. They are aluminum, just fit very comfortably in my hand and work in the same manner as filling the tips, and you can also replace those and refill them. I use my tweezers so I don't lose anything, and make sure you don't lose your little silicone grip thing. And like I say in the other video, I got a lot of samples today, or last night. I got this last night, but I waited till today to open it and show you. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope that makes sense, and give them a try. I ordered mine from the UK. They shipped, I think I got it probably maybe 5 to 6 business days. The box does have to go through customs, so if you see it coming with tape, masking tape on the box, and you wonder, wow, that's cheaply, it's because when it goes through customs, they have permission to open it and check the custom order, and then they tape it back up. Great product. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments if you have tried these, what you think of them, and if you'd like to try them, and let me know what you think. I think that's a great idea, great product, and I'm enjoying using them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.